What finally fixed my emotional eating and stress drinking after 15 years? Hey team, and welcome to this week's episode of the Inspired Show, the show that is dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself, physically as well as mentally. We've got a great episode for you today, but before we delve into it, if you've not done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. It means you stay updated with every single episode we drop every single week. Smash a like on this episode because it's going to be a really good one, and make sure you share it with somebody who may benefit as well. Plus, let me know any big takeaways or questions in the comments. And don't forget, if you're in your daily dose of tips, follow our social media pages. They're all linked down below. Plus, if you want exclusive access to our coaching program, check the link down below as well for less than a takeaway a week. So this week's episode is all about my experience when it came to emotional eating and stress drinking. And this was one of the biggest barriers to success on my health and fitness journey. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. I would say about 90% of the people I work with are emotional eaters or stress drinkers. Now, the thing with emotional eating and stress drinking is, the biggest mistake I made, and I see a lot of people making as well, is they put it down to a lack of discipline or a lack of willpower. They don't actually bring awareness to what it actually is. They bury their head in the sand. They don't believe they're an emotional eater, or they don't believe they're a stress drinker. They simply put these slip-ups down to lack of willpower and lack of discipline. And I was exactly the same. But until we bring awareness to what's actually going on, and understanding it's not about the food or the alcohol, but why we're using it, we're always going to stay stuck because we're not addressing the root cause. So the first step in overcoming the emotional eating and stress drinking is to bring awareness and actually label it and call a spade a spade. If you're an emotional eater, label yourself as an emotional eater. If you're a stress drinker, label yourself as a stress drinker. And people are often afraid to do that because they don't like the stigma around it. But you've got to bring awareness to this. Once you understand it's not about willpower, it's not about discipline, and there's an underlying issue, that is the first step to success. The second step to success is understanding that these episodes aren't random. They usually follow some sort of pattern, whether it's after a stressful week, around certain people, in certain environments, around certain emotions. Once we can start pinpointing these patterns and understanding when and why these patterns are happening, we can then start putting things in place. And this is an absolute game changer for you. So how can we start bringing awareness to these patterns? Well, one thing I found worked really well is to simply start keeping a journal. Okay, and the thing with journaling is, what a lot of people do is they only journal on the good days, the days that have gone well, the days when they're celebrating the wins. But if you can lean into journaling and journal the good days, the bad days, the okay days, what you're then going to do is you're going to start bringing awareness to these patterns in your life. Awareness when you're emotionally eating, when you're stress drinking, when it's happening, why it's happening, and that in itself is a complete game changer. Because once you've done that, you can then start putting things in place. And for me, overcoming the emotional eating and stress drinking, I use two methods. These two methods have been an absolute game changer for me. And these are the methods I teach inside my coaching program as well. I'm going to teach you guys today. So the first method is called the BOLD technique. It's an acronym for breathe, observe, label, and decide. So once you're aware of when these things typically happen, you breathe, you take a couple of deep breaths, and what that then does, it allows you to realign. It allows you some breathing room, some thinking space. You can then observe what's actually happening. Because there are going to be times when it may not be emotional, it may not be stress, it may actually be physical hunger. So you want to bring awareness to that so we're not getting confused. So when you're observing, observe what's going on. Are you physically hungry? Have you had a bit of a crappy day? Is it that you've had a stressful situation? Is it that you're bored? Is it that you're upset? And what you then do is you label these emotions. And labeling these emotions will start bringing much more awareness where you can manage these aspects automatically. And then what you do is decide. You decide what you're going to do. And you're much less likely to emotionally eat and stress drink because you put a circuit breaker in place where you've stopped to breathe, observe, label. Now you're making the decision. And then that brings us on to the second method I like to use, which is called a self-care menu. So a self-care menu is basically a compilation of things that make you feel better. They make you feel good. They give you that gratification. Just as you're getting the gratification from food or alcohol during the stressful emotional situations, you're actually using something else to give you the same effect. And that's going to be different for everybody. So it might be going for a walk. It might be a bit of self-care. It might be speaking with a friend, a loved one. It might be doing a hobby. But having this self-care menu to hand where you can just pick and choose as and when you need to is an absolute lifesaver. And when you start putting these two together, it's a great method for the emotional eating and stress drinking as well. Now, what I also recommend alongside these two techniques is you want to be focused on your self-care menu actively rather than reactively. So one thing that I do every single week as part of my planning when I'm planning my food, when I'm working out, is I'll plan my self-care. I'll plan it in actively. So what I'm doing, I'm keeping stress to a minimum, so I'm then doing it actively rather than reactively. Where in the past where I didn't plan them in, I would then reactively reach for the food or reach for the alcohol, which would ultimately hold me back from reaching my goals. So once you start putting all these things together, it's an absolute game changer, like I said. But the most important thing when it comes to emotional eating and stress drinking is you do not have to be perfect by any means, okay? Because trying to be perfect puts an extra element of stress, which we're trying to avoid. Understand that there will be slip-ups. There will be times when you're not perfect, but it's how you bring yourself back to realignment on your journey is what's key. Because life isn't perfect, is it? There are going to be times when it gets really overwhelming and we do lean into old coping mechanisms. But as long as you bring awareness to that and you can nip it in the bud, it'll be a complete game changer. Now, take a little bit of time to go through these steps, start implementing them, and I guarantee it'll make your life so much better when it comes to managing emotional eating and stress drinking. And if you need any help with this is something we do day in, day out inside our coaching program. So please feel free to reach out on any of our social media platforms where we can help you overcome these challenges. But guys, until next week, hit the like button, hit the share button, and I'll see you inside the daily communities.